Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I am Tracy Cram Perkins. Our show today is Dementia Home Care. I invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV and Radio. I am a four-time dementia caregiving survivor and the author of Dementia Home Care, How to Prepare Before, During, and After. And joining me today is our special guest, former Wisconsin Governor Martin J. Schreiber, who is a dedicated and outspoken advocate on Alzheimer's disease, dementia, and caregiving. He shares his experiences as a caregiver to his wife and high school sweetheart Elaine at nationwide events, offering humor, compassion, and words of wisdom. His book, which I happen to own, My Two Elaines, Learning, Coping, and Surviving as an Alzheimer's Caregiver, has received widespread praise from the caregiving community and is listed among caregiving.com's best caregiver books. His extensive public service includes roles as the youngest member of the state Senate, lieutenant governor, and the 39th governor of Wisconsin. Welcome, Marty.
Hey, Tracy. Hi, good morning. And what a special honor and privilege for me to be with you and to be just part of all of the great things that you're doing for people. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on air today. And for the few people on the planet that don't know who you are, would you please give a little bit of an introduction to the audience so they know who and what you do?
Well, thank you. Well, right now I just had my birthday on April 8th, by the way, 86 years of age. I want you to know that I'm registered for gifts over at McDonald's and Chick-fil-A. And so if you can understand that, but going back, my life was certainly determined for me pretty much when I met my high school sweetheart Elaine in freshman Latin class. And I knew right away that she was the person for me. And we dated and went steady and got engaged and had children, and 4 children, 13 grandchildren, now 10 great-grandchildren. She was my friend, my advisor, my companion, and everything you could want in a life's partner. Well, I always had politics in my blood. My dad was on the city council, and I saw what government can do in helping people and making a difference in people's life, and that's what I pursued. So as you mentioned in your introduction, I ran for the state senate and served there, lieutenant governor and governor. And then after my service in public life, which was one thing I did about prayer, I learned about prayer, and that is that I wanted always to be governor. So I said, God, please let me be governor, please. And I was governor, but I didn't pray for 4 four-year terms. And so I think that we all can learn something about prayer, and that's as long as you're praying, you might as well go for it. But anyway, so I served in public life, and then went on and did some work in the insurance as an executive, and then I was a publisher for a financial management journal, and then government relations, and then retired almost at the same time, almost over 20 years ago, when my wife was first diagnosed with early onset.
So you often talk in your book, and it talks about your first and your second Elaine. So can you let the audience know who your 2 Elaines are?
Yes, thank you. Well, the first Elaine was, as I mentioned, the girl that I fell in love with in Latin class as a freshman in high school. And I said, my friend and my advisor and my companion, everything he would want in a life's partner. And then when she was about 63 years of age, going back that point, she began to get lost going to and from places she had been going to and from for the last 10 years. Um, she would scrape the side of the car, which was very unusual for her. She would come up with stories that I know never happened, but she insisted. And she was a great cook. And sometimes she would mess up her recipe so bad that she would cry. Well, that was the beginning of the second Elaine. Certainly the same human body as the first Elaine, but quite different in character and personality and mindset than the first Elaine. And so, when I wrote the book, I wanted to try and help caregivers understand. Um, I try to have caregivers understand it. Well, first of all, the point, if you and I go back to 19, so when Elaine was first diagnosed, what would that be? Some 22 years ago. Alzheimer's couldn't be delayed or prevented. That's 20 years ago. And now today, 22 years later, it still cannot be prevented, nor can it be delayed. So that's such a dire prognosis, and we can feel defeated. But Elaine never let me feel defeated. She always said, you may lose, but you can never allow yourself to feel defeated. And so to avoid being defeated, we can make a determination to help our loved one live their best life possible. And that is then when one of the ways we do that is we join their world. And that's where two Elaines came from. Yes, I could live Elaine's world with her and my world together at the same time. Enter Alzheimer's. Now she has her world. And that is the world I have to join. That's my second Elaine.
So, what was the most unexpected thing you discovered for yourself about being a caregiver? I mean, because it's not an easy journey, as you're saying. You couldn't be. Your wife told you not to be defeated, but there had to be some other things you had to learn to cope with.
Well, I think I learned that I was stupid, and I think I learned I was arrogant, and I think I learned I was self-centered, and I think I learned that if I don't take care of myself, I'm going to become irrationally irritable. I think I learned that I'm actually a lifeline to my wife. I think I learned that had I been more patient with myself. I think I learned that had I been able to ask for help. I learned so many things, and there's an old German saying that you sometimes become old so quick and smart so late. And so yes, I learned a lot of things, and that's why I wrote the book. Um, I want to. It's like I would have taken a mountain trail up the mountain, and I went on this entire journey. Now I'm back. I've traveled it, so I'm sitting on the side of the road, and there are other people who are going to be on the same journey. And I want to just say, please sit down and visit with me for just a little bit. Let me just talk with you so you can have an understanding about the kinds of things that I wish I would have learned sooner. And maybe as you sit and we talk, you can be able to experience moments of joy that you ordinarily wouldn't anticipate with such a dire prognosis. So yeah, that's a long answer to what question what I learned, but I learned a lot of good things, and I also learned that the caregiver's poison, which is alcohol, that's not an answer either. But I think also I learned that pride can kill you if we get into the fact that we've got to do this ourselves and so on and so forth. That can really be a bad thing uh, uh, for our loved one and for ourselves and for the family, for the grandchildren, for other people.
So, how did you figure out how to navigate that? Because you said the caregiver's poison. I mean, there's a lot of things that you had to navigate your way through to get to where you are now. How did you do that?
Well, in a way, it was sort of like putting my hand on a hot stove. I tried it, and I just, this isn't so good.
Okay.
and and so I think about um, the fact that I didn't take care of myself. I did not get enough sleep. I slept by the door for fear Elaine would go out into traffic at night. I didn't eat right. I didn't get enough exercise. I didn't socialize. I did all of the things that you shouldn't be doing. And so what happened was I became irrationally irritable. And here I am, I am actually grieving, living a grief of my wife disappearing a little bit every day. I love her dearly, and yet I'm doing everything in opposition to helping her live her best life possible by not taking care of myself. And so one of the things that came through as far as learning, I did go to counseling. I finally got to the point where I had to do something, and so I went to counseling. And this was just about the time when Elaine was in the process of being. Uh, well, Marty Schreiber, I had a tough time taking care of her, and so I was with the counselor, and I said to the counselor, I just cannot see putting Elaine into a nursing home. I can't see putting her in there. And the counselor said, you are not putting Elaine anyplace. You are giving her an opportunity to be who she is now. Can Marty Schreiber's 24/7 nursing home care take care of her? Was the question of the council. Answer is absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so when the counselor told me that I wasn't putting Elaine anyplace but giving her an opportunity to be who she is now, that really struck a chord. And I finally realized that my battle, what I was doing is I was trying to beat Alzheimer's. I wasn't trying to help my wife live her best life possible. I was trying to beat Alzheimer's. Well, we know we can't do that in this day and age at this moment in time. But I certainly could have helped her live her best life possible, helping Elaine, not putting her any place, but helping her be who she is now. And so that understanding of that ego, of that pride, that kept me from asking for help along the way. I finally understood it's not about me and Alzheimer's, it's about me and my wife. And yeah, we got another burden to carry through with that, with Alzheimer's and what it does. But by the same token, we can't let it, as I said, Elaine said, we may lose, but we can never allow ourselves to feel defeated.
Oh, that is just so incredible. So I can just imagine when you share that with audiences, probably the aha moment, you can see people's eyes lighting up because that most people do not hear that from anyone.
Well, we men don't like to ask for directions, do we? And one of the things that I realized that to ask for help means you're not giving up. We're surrounded by an enemy, and we know that we cannot, under these circumstances, do anything about it. Are we just going to sit there and allow us to be overrun, or are we going to go for help? And so to ask for help means you're not giving up, and to also ask for help is a sign of courage. One of the things that I want to hopefully drive home to caregivers, and about being so arrogant and saying we're going to take care of it and we're going to till death do us part and so forth. And I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying that to death do us part, that really means it. Well, you don't want to part. And over 40% of caregivers die before their loved one because of stress-related illness. 60% of caregivers have a higher death rate than non-caregivers. And so what we need to understand is that, yes, we will want to take care of our loved one. We're their lifeline, and we'll talk about that. But we are also parents and grandparents, and we're also members of the community. And so we have to take care of ourselves, not only for our loved one, but out of respect and love for our children and for our grandchildren, and also for ourselves. So we've got to understand that this business of thinking we should do it all alone is really foolhardy, really foolhardy.
Oh, I applaud you so much for that. Um, I going on that same vein because you were talking about the physical and the emotional demands and how difficult it is, and that calling for help. What strategies or habits helped you stay grounded or find any balance?
Well, learning a little bit. one at a time. And I think understanding that I have to, as a caregiver dealing with this disease, have to join my wife's world, Elaine's world. So, Elaine, it didn't happen on a Thursday, it happened on a Friday. Elaine, it wasn't the Smiths, it was the Joneses. Elaine, you asked me 10 times what time we're leaving. I told Elaine, why are you telling me this? Elaine, why did you put the car keys in? That's not it. What is it is joining her world. So she asked me once, how are my parents? Well, I said, they're both dead. No, they're not. Yeah, Elaine, your parents are both dead. Well, the shock on her face when she realized she didn't say goodbye to them, much less attend the funeral. I promised myself I'm never going to put her through that again. And so the next time she said, well, how are my parents? I said, Elaine, I said, your mom is doing great. She loves volunteering at church. Your dad likes his sport. Oh, she said, that makes me feel so happy. That makes me feel so happy. Well, that's what I call therapeutic fibbing. Therapeutic fibbing. So very important. And so there's two things, though, that I want you to know about therapeutic fibbing. Number one, I tried it the first year of marriage. And it didn't work out so good. But the second thing, and not everyone believes me on this, okay, but not everyone, I'm going to be very straightforward. Not everyone believes when I tell them what happened. But anyway, if you can recall Moses and on top of Mount Sinai, bringing down the 10 Commandments. I was there and I was helping him. I says, Mo, how are we? Well, first of all, please understand, you never call Moses Mo because he hates it. So I'm on the top of the mountain with Moses. How are we going to get this big tablet down? So we work at it and we finally get it down to the bottom. And I have a chance to look at the writing. Well, in Arabic, Hebrew, the 10 Commandments. And I don't read Arabic, Hebrew. I don't understand that. I don't know that. And so I was just very curious. And so what happened is I walked around and I looked at behind the stone tablets. And they're written in good American English where the words therapeutic fibbing is good. Therapeutic fibbing is advisable. Therapeutic fibbing is not telling a lie. Therapeutic fibbing is helping your loved one live their best life possible. And that was on the back of that stone. So people can feel very comfortable that therapeutic fibbing is okay. And I tell you, before I went to press with the book, maybe about 4 weeks, I told my story, but lo and behold, I find a series of notes and journals that Elaine had been keeping since her diagnosis. I want you to know that we had prayed together and we had cried together, but never until I read her notes and her journals did I understand the courage that it takes to move forward with this disease. And also, never did I understand how much of a lifeline I was for her. And so it hit me like a ton of bricks, so to speak. Here she knows she's losing her memory. And she's very concerned about what is going to happen in the future. It gives us a really good insight into what a person has to deal with when they're going through this diagnosis. And so she's going through all of this worry. And now she's getting yelled at for putting the keys in the dishwasher. She's getting yelled at for asking the same question over again. And she doesn't remember doing it. And can you imagine what it's like to be unstable enough, knowing that you're going to be facing challenge, but then yet to be criticized for almost everything that you do? And so those notes and journals are so. Each chapter of the book begins with some of Elaine's notes, and again, it's intended to help the reader understand what the challenge is, internal mind-wise, of the person who is ill. Diagnosed, but also those notes are put in there so the reader can clearly understand that the caregiver is a lifeline. And she tells in her notes so many times, please, I need you, or please take care of yourself, for you as well as for me, and so forth. And if we assume hypothetically, let's assume hypothetically I win the the lottery, and I'm able to take every single listener and viewer on a trip in the Caribbean. And so we're down there in the Caribbean, and I'm thinking about whether or not I call it the Gulf of America or not. But anyway, it is the Caribbean. So we're down there in the Caribbean, and one of our listeners falls overboard, and we throw them a lifeline, and we're saved. Now they're saved. No, they're not, because the lifeline is weak. How did it become weak? Well, because it was gnawed almost daily, and with that gnawing became so weak. So here is what happens. We are a lifeline to our loved one. And what we want to do is throw them that lifeline, and we throw it to them. I try and help Elaine, but that lifeline is flawed. Why did it become flawed? Well, because I gnawed at it. I gnawed at it every day by not getting enough sleep, by not taking care of myself, by not getting enough exercise, by not getting enough respite care, by not doing all of the things that any human being should do just for living a normal life, much less a life of being a caregiver. And so I want caregivers to understand that this Alzheimer's, we can't beat it right now, but we can make a determination to help our loved one live their best life possible. For therapeutic fibbing as an example. But then also what we have to understand, in order for our loved one to live their best life possible, we have to live our best life possible. And we do that. We do that by taking care of ourselves. So important, and has to be number one on the priority. You know, I don't always like to use this analogy because it's so much overused, but what do you do when the oxygen mask drops on an airplane? Put it on first, because if you don't do it, you can't help anybody. So I don't know what was that. Maybe I strayed a little bit from your question, Tracy. I don't know.
Oh, I thought that was beautiful, first of all. And I love your passion, Marty. It's just so incredible. Um, and you answered my question. And it's about staying healthy and finding balance and helping someone. But really, what you covered is so many key points that a lot of people miss because they don't take the time to breathe, to step back and just look at what's going on, or give themselves emotional permission. Because I know forgive me for saying this, but there are certain generations of people that will not, they think they can handle everything themselves. And it's been carried down, and some of us still feel that way. And so we're so conditioned that we can do it all that we're not able to throw that lifeline because we're not taking care of ourselves. And just like what you said was just beautiful. And I just really appreciate that. And I know a lot of people are going to be touched that are watching this right now. And but I'm going to segue this then into, can you tell me about Operation Stronger Together?
What we wanted to do was to help the caregiver learn, cope, and survive, basically. And what we it's probably based on the fact that if Alzheimer's is bad, ignorance of the disease is worse. So I'm with Elaine. We go to the doctor, and the doctor makes the diagnosis. And so all the doctor told me was four things: Numenda and Aricept, and then socialization, which is very important. Then walking, which is the best exercise for the brain, and a glass of red wine every evening. That's all. But I mean, that was all my. Well, so Elaine got 4 weeks ahead with a glass of red wine, and 3 weeks behind with the walking. But that was what I understood and knew about this disease. So I sort of, I mean, now I'm with Elaine, and we're trying to, and so I didn't know what to expect, really. And I went to the bookstore, and I looked at many books on Alzheimer's, but outstanding books that go really into detail of it all, but nothing really to give me a good bird's eye view of what might be in store. So what we wanted to do was to be able to help the caregiver. And when there is a diagnosis, working with the medical profession, when there is a diagnosis, we get a permission slip from the caregiver. The caregiver signs a permission slip to the doctor. The doctor in turn then contacts the Alzheimer's Association, who in turn can get in contact with the caregiver to help him, her understand how best to help their loved one live their best life possible, and help them and help the caregiver live their best life possible. So that was something that hopefully more people will. Well, here's the thing: Alzheimer's is not a chicken casserole disease. Hypothetically speaking, I have a bad heart and I'm laid up at home and maybe heart surgery. People bring me chicken casserole. I have operation of my hip. I'm laid up. People bring me chicken casserole. Now my wife has Alzheimer's because people are ignorant of the disease. They don't know what to do. And because of that, because they don't know what to do, they stay away. So friends of 30 years, sometimes 40 years, still good friends, still love the friendship, but because they don't know what to do, they stay away. And now, not only is as a caregiver, and not only is the person who is ill going through what they're going through, they're also feeling deserted and abandoned because people are not aware of how best to help someone on this journey. And so if Alzheimer's is bad, ignorance of the disease is worse. We've got to turn it into a chicken casserole disease where people understand, yes, you should visit. Yes, you should drop by. Yes, maybe one chicken casserole isn't going to do it because you're going to recover from the hip surgery. You're going to maybe recover from the heart surgery, but it's going to be the reverse with Alzheimer's. So maybe one or two more chicken casseroles, but also the volunteering to come and stay with the loved one for a little bit of time for respite, or going for a walk, or just saying one of the things that we want to do stronger together. One of the things we want to do is help people who are concerned about the caregiver and the person ill to not just say, call me if I can help. And I know that when that is said, that there's great meaning behind it and great love behind it. That's not the way caregivers think or operate. No, I'm not, yeah, okay, I'll know I'm going to call somebody. Well, that's baloney. What we need to help with caregivers is, okay, I'm going to, let me pick up the prescriptions, or let me go, I'm going to the store, what should I bring you? Or I'm going to be coming by in the neighborhood and let me visit with so-and-so for a little bit while you go out for a walk. Specific kinds of things. Those are the things that are important. And so let me mention this. So when I talk about not being a chicken casserole disease, people, it's hard to talk with someone whose mind is failing. And I had an experience to share. So Elaine is at assisted living memory care. I think we were together. I tried to take care of her maybe 8-9 years, and then now assisted living. So I'm having lunch with her in the cafeteria, assisted living memory care. And while we're having lunch, she's starting to cry. Well, Elaine, why are you crying? Well, she says, I'm beginning to love you more than my husband. Well, I didn't ask her what's wrong with your turkey husband. I didn't do that. But here is what that meant to me. And here's what I want to share with caregivers and their families, with the children and the grandchildren. It is not necessary for our loved one to know our name in order for our hearts to touch. And that's the key. Helping our loved one live their best life possible, to have hearts touch. So hearts can touch by giving a smile, by holding a hand, by giving a hug, by singing a song together, by just being there. And so, yes, I know it's tempting to want to stay away. I know it's tempting. Well, they don't know my name anyway. Well, yes, that may be true, but that's not necessary in order for hearts to touch. So if we can please understand that, I think we can get some special joy in knowing that, yes, they may not know my name, but they knew I was there, or I knew I made them feel comfortable. And it's a long journey. And gosh, I'm so pleased to talk these things over with you.
Oh, I am so happy that you brought that up. I mean, that is just an incredible point. I often tell people that when people say they're fine, it actually is spelled HELP. because they need help, but they don't know how to ask for it. And you brought up such an illustrative point to that, and it made it so easy for people to understand. And you did talk about your casserole disease in your book, which I also want to go back to let people know this is a really resource rich book. I mean, it is incredible. And what you did in this edition is you also had your kids write their perspective. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because I was really touched by that.
Well, Tracy, thank you. You know, I said before we went to print, I found a series of notes and journals and diaries that Elaine had been keeping. Well, I I felt badly that, here I wrote my story, but I didn't tell Elaine's story. And so so I added her notes, and it really made a difference in the book. So now I'm, sort of happy along my way because I did but lo and behold, what I found out because of people's questions, how did your children feel? I would be giving a presentation. How did your children feel about this? Knock aside the head. I'm going through my grieving. And what I did not think about was understanding what my children were going through. They were so always helpful. They were so ready to be of assistance, but never did I really sit down and talk with them and say, well, how are you doing? And can we do anything to help each other, or can I do anything to help you? And so finally I did get to the point where I said, I just am not a very nice person, sort of selfish looking at this, my own viewpoint, and then including Elaine's viewpoints, now thinking I've got it all done, but not sitting and visiting with my children. And so I did add some of their comments to it so people can get an understanding. One of the things I learned following that is that you cannot tell anyone how to grieve, and everyone grieves in their own way. And so my one son, he would die for me, but he wanted to remember mom as she once was. And the other children also so very, very willing to help, would come by and visit, and everyone would show their concern and their love in a different way. And again, no matter what I would ask of them, they would do. But by the same token, I needed to respect how their viewpoints were about this. I needed to understand also their emotions. One of the things that came through also in the discussions with children, I have 4 children, and my third oldest, Christine, said, "Dad, does that mean I'm going to get Alzheimer's?" And one of the things that just comes through so much, that question, just if my parents had it or my relatives have it, does that mean I'm going to get it? Well, I say it is a factor, but so is smoking a factor. So is drinking a factor. So is exercise a factor. So is taking care of yourself a factor. So is, working on mind games a factor. All of those are factors, and it does not necessarily mean that that's what you're going to end up with. And so I thank you for bringing that up about the children. It's something that I always don't talk about. What we should be talking about it more, again, because they handle that grief their own way, and you just try and go on. You just try and go on.
Thank you for sharing that. It's, as you said, it's not something we normally think about. And when I had read that section in your book, I was so touched by it. It was like, I really wish I would have thought more broadly when I was doing caregiving. I mean, it just really, really struck a chord with me. And the part about the grief, yeah, none of us grieve the same way, and grief never goes away. It stays with you. You just learn to live with it. And that's another thing that it takes a while to figure out. And the way you were just talking about it with your kids and how they all want to remember something different, and interact with their mom differently, I just thought that was so beautiful. So I have another question for you because we've got about 5 minutes left. Um, what would you say was your most unexpected and cherished feedback about the book itself?
The most cherished feedback. First, I'm not a golfer. I hate golf. I just assume not golf, and the farther away I can be from it. And so when I give my presentations, and people come and tell me that the book made a difference in their life, that it helped them better understand how to learn, cope, and survive. Some people said it's a lifesaver. I don't know what kind. That to me is like a hole in one. It's like five holes in one. To know that there was an opportunity for the journey that I went on to be shared to the extent that people also can get some assistance. I would say that would be probably the most rewarding of it all. I do enjoy making presentations, and I'll almost go anywhere for a presentation because I know what it's like. And if I can help someone on this journey and make it a little bit easier for them, that's a great feeling.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I just love the fact that you described it as like a four holes in one. I mean, that's just it really I was so touched. I read this book so fast. I was just it's so well beautifully written, and I just whipped right through it while I was in Wisconsin, by the way, for the viewers. I bought this book when I was in Wisconsin, and just circumstances brought us together for this show today, and so I just really want to say thank you for that. And then I also have a question. I'm going to circle back to something. Um, was there in your caregiving journey anytime when you had to reassess and reevaluate what you were doing, um, that really stuck with you, that you would love to share with people not to do?
My children had an intervention, and they sat me down and they said, "Dad, if you don't do something, you're going to be dead before Mom, and we don't want to lose both of you." And I think that intervention was, again, like, getting hit aside the head with a baseball bat. My goodness, I've got to change my life. I've got to be healthy, not only for myself, for my wife, but also for those that love me and whom I love. And so I think that intervention that they had, which really shook me up and helped me better understand what my role should be. And I think also, just quickly, to understand that you start off as a loving husband and you morph into a caregiver, and you have to understand that that's happening because a caregiver acts differently and should act differently than a loving spouse, and a loving spouse should act differently than a caregiver. And so if we can understand that we are morphing into someone different because our loved one is morphing into someone different as well, if we can understand that, I think it can help on the journey.
Oh, that's beautiful. I okay. The the thing with the intervention, um, I I can understand what that must feel like for your kids because I had to do that for my own parents with my siblings, and so I am just relating to that from a different perspective, obviously, but just to be able to go in and have that heartfelt conversation and to talk about it and actually get through the emotions for that is just incredible. Um, I honor you for that because it's also difficult to talk about, and the fact that you are so plain spoken about it and just make it accessible to everyone who listens. I just honor you for that as well because it's just an incredible gift that you give. And Marty, I can't believe that we've been able to pull this all together, and because I know that you were originally scheduled to be on the show back in January and you got ill, and I'm just so thrilled that you're here today. Oh,
Thank you. My honor. And again, thank you for all you do. Oh my gosh, without people like you so thank you so very, very much. That's just outstanding. So thank
and
you.
I truly appreciate. Oh, and there is your website. Yay!
Oh,
So we are just about done for today, I believe. I want to again say thank you, Marty, and
thank you.
here we go, I guess. We'll be back on June 17th for our next episode of the Dementia Home Care Show. In the meantime, you can go over to our YouTube channel at USA Global TV and Radio and look for the Dementia Home Care playlist where you'll find all of our past episodes. I would like to say thank you to the wonderful Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck for all of her work behind the scenes today and to thank our sponsors for making this possible. See you next time, everyone.
Have you ever felt unheard? Like your words float into a void, leaving you invisible and disconnected? How about feeling judged, when assumptions overshadow your truth, leaving you misunderstood and defensive? And then there's that moment when someone offers solutions you never asked for, dismissing your feelings and leaving you more frustrated than before. It doesn't have to be this way. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the listening mentor, understands. She's here to help you reclaim your voice, build stronger connections, and create meaningful conversations that inspire understanding and mutual respect. Through her groundbreaking books, online and in-person courses, and interactive workshops, you'll learn how to navigate life's most challenging interactions. Discover the power of elevated listening and transform how you communicate. Master setting boundaries and asking permission to protect your peace. Learn to recognize and release judgment, fostering empathy and true connection. Dr. Kerbeck also offers personalized coaching, one-on-one or group sessions designed to fit your unique needs. Whether in person or virtually on StreamYard, her guidance will empower you to thrive. You don't have to struggle alone. The path to deeper connections and better relationships start here. Visit drjacqueline.com or usaglobaltv.com. Join a global community of empowered listeners and transform your life, one meaningful conversation at a time. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck is the listening mentor. Start your journey today.
5 little-known secrets for dementia caregivers with Tracy Cram-Perkins.
Hi there. I am Tracy Cram-Perkins, the host of the Dementia Home Care Show here on USA Global TV and Radio. I am also the author of the book of the same name. And you'll see this QR code. This is for an extended version of the same talk. So if you want to see the full hour-long version, feel free to scan the code and go to that website. Stick with me. We'll talk about 5 little-known secrets to make it a little easier to do dementia caregiving. What you're seeing on the left-hand side is a healthy aged brain, age 55 and above. The one you're seeing on the right is an Alzheimer's disease brain. It is in moderate disease. It is shrinking. It has holes in it. The memories that were in those holes no longer exist. When you're learning something, let's say in kindergarten, you learn how to tie your shoelace. Well, then by the time you're in 2nd grade, your brain remembers that information from tying the shoelace and applies it so you can learn more quickly how to tie more complex knots. So the brain is hardwired to do this for us. So it helps us learn faster so it doesn't take us long to acquire knowledge. The brain is looking for the information and they pick the closest to wherever that hole is. Let's look at some tips that we can use to help do that. These are 5 simple tools you can use as a dementia caregiver to help your loved one. The whiteboard is a useful tool in recording the day's activities and the answers to repetitive questions. The calendar clock is a very useful tool to orient your loved one on the day, the date, and the time, and remind them of upcoming appointments. The communication cards are a great tool to bridge the gap when they can no longer tell you what's wrong. And then there's the pill minder for when your loved one is still able to take pills but needs prompting. The final tool I want to share with you is the memory book. It tells your loved one's story. It's a great tool for distraction, redirection, also as a conversation starter, and telling you where they are in their story so you know how to answer their questions. Music is probably the most powerful tool in your toolbox after laughter. Music is a way to maintain connection. It sticks with your brain longer than any other thing, including reading. When you're having an issue with somebody, you can play their favorite music if you move them to another room, something that makes them happy, or you can start singing songs together from their childhood. These are some of my favorite books for caregivers. My show airs on the 3rd Tuesday of every month, and you can view past episodes on YouTube. Thank you, everyone.
This program has been brought to you in part by Tracy Cram-Perkins. Connect with her and order her book at tracycramperkins.com. For more information about Alzheimer's disease, support resources, and how you can help, contact the Alzheimer's Association at 1-800 272-3900 or visit their website at www.alz.org. They offer 24/7 helpline support and a wealth of information to assist you and your loved ones.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.